there's this concept called 131. So here's the one problem, here are the three potential solutions, and I've evaluated them, and then here's my recommendation. It's kind of like what you teach your own employees to do, to show up to every meeting and having their 131.
You can be talking about and solving for the wrong thing if you're not spending time digging into what's the real problem. Different founders grow up in different areas of business. Some are sales and marketing geniuses, right? And so they're the ones who, they cap their business's growth because they're the only one who's selling, because they haven't figured out how to bring other people into sell in the new age, right?
Welcome to Outsource to Profits. I have a fantastic guest. Aviva, do you mind introducing who you are, who you serve, and how you help the world?
Yeah, so my name is Aviva Leebow. I'm the CEO of Empower Leadership, as well as a Vistage Chair in Atlanta, Georgia. And my clients are CEOs, business owners, as well as executives who are they're very driven. They're looking to scale their businesses or transform their companies, maybe innovate or disrupt in their industries. And they know that it's harder to do that on their own. So they join a peer group or get coaching to make sure they are checking their ego at the door and getting other ideas to go there faster and smarter.
This is fantastic. I am a huge proponent. I've been a member of EO. I'm a member of Collective 54 today. And this episode, I think, is really geared for high growth leaders, especially, only because I'm going to be speaking from personal experience. Anybody that's ever listened to our show, I've owned 3 agencies. 2 of those 3 kind of really fast growth. My current agency, Levrg, is growing at 10 to 15% compounded a month. And what that's having me do is, for the first time in my career, it was that I felt that I was reinventing myself incrementally. Like I was learning new skills around finance and operations or human resources or talent acquisition above and beyond my natural skills, which are, sales and business development. But because we're doubling like every 6 months, what's happening is I'm actually having to pause at night after working all day and then trying to realize that I actually have to not only reinvent for 6 months from now or focus on developing skills and things that we need to do for our business 6 months from now, but knowing where the puck's going to be in a year or 2, I'll be a completely different business owner. As an example, we're now 70 employees and I'll then be 150 employees this time next year. And that's like a different CEO. So with that, Aviva, you and I were talking about the episode here is about reinvention, is about imposter syndrome, and in a sense, trying to forecast where the puck is going so that you can become that person. But can you first talk about the inverse of that? What, in your estimation, holds back the average founder? They're growing, their business is growing, but they're not growing.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I see is we're all capped by our own experiences. We don't know what we don't know. So we're stuck with what we do. And so unless we're growing outside of that and making sure to learn from others who have different experiences than ours, particularly, as you say, right, 70 employees to 150 employees. If you haven't been around someone with 150 employees, how do you know what the different challenges are that they're facing that you haven't yet to grow into it? So I think knowledge and experience are the biggest cap somebody's facing in order to grow and really get where they need to go.
Now, you're in front of founders all day long, and there's 2 camps. I did a podcast episode with a gentleman where you could either lean into your strengths and turn them into a 10x superpower, or you can create business acumen around the things that you're weak at for the very basic conversations in the business. But you're in this boardroom and you're watching strengths and weaknesses all day long. If you were to summarize for the listener, what are the 1 or 2 areas or disciplines within the business that you find founders are immature? Number 2, are struggling to reinvent themselves for that next level?
So what I tell you is it's different for each founder, but it's based in what they grew up in. So different founders grow up in different areas of business. Some are sales and marketing geniuses, right? And so they're the ones who, they cap their business's growth because they're the only one who's selling because they haven't figured out how to bring other people into sell in the new age, right?
I'm in that cobbler's kids.
right? And then you have the other ones who grew up as amazing financial people. They understood the financials in and out, and so they could get really creative, raise capital, right? Do all the things they needed to there. But then when they get to a certain place, they don't really know how to market and grow past that. They get capped by the strategies that they had initially. So I think it's different for every founder, but to identify what it is for you, think about your comfort zone, what you're passionate about, and what area you grew up in the business. That's probably the area that you're actually capping your business the most, because you may be willing to supplement your strengths in the other areas, but at some point you outgrow your own level of knowledge in the area that you have been so knowledgeable in.
So I'm a founder. I came into your Vistage group and you're sussing me out, and you could tell there's zones of genius, sales and marketing. There's financial immaturity as an example, or perhaps I keep dismissing HR, yet the fact that I'm doubling in size, so it's like counterintuitive to the goal. What do you and your peer, I only know it from the EO world, where we'd call it it's speaking with gestalt and like teaching through stories. But what does your co-founder brain say in helping me, that founder, launch, kickstart, plant the seeds of inception that I need to change? And I need to change in a more radical way than just like incremental growth. But I'm going to actually have to plot on a graph. You need to level jump. There's this concept called cell phones in Africa. Mm-hmm. It means Africa jumped over an entire ecosystem of phones. They went from no phones past the landlines, and they went straight into the cell phone era. So how do you jump it? What would be your strategies to execute next?
Yeah. So what I would typically do, and actually had a coaching conversation with a client the other day, just in the subject area, where are you trying to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever the time is, right? You've got this big vision. So let's talk about it. Let's create the ideal vision very clearly. Make sure you're describing your dream house how you describe it, not how the person you say build my ideal dream house and they build it to a completely different way, completely modern, and you're traditional or the opposite, right? So get that laid out. And then once you have that laid out, move backwards. So what are the steps? So if your dream company is going to have 500 people in 3 years, and right now you're at 70, well, then you've got to start looking at the org structure, the things you need, right? And so as people start to bring their issues and challenges to the table and their vision, the people who have different experiences are going to say, hey, are you thinking about this? So one of the things we do is we bring issues and challenges to meetings, and we also do presentations on our businesses. When we do the presentations, or my group members do on their business, the group is there challenging with compassion and speaking with radical candor, looking for all of the blind spots. So you, a non-HR person, is so focused on we're going to grow, and isn't thinking about what work structure they need to support that. And we're we'll just hire. We can hire 40 people, no big deal. And no one's saying, hey, when you hire 40 people, who are you developing to actually manage them? Do you have training plans and leadership development? And have you designed the right org structure to solve for your 40 additional people? Because it's not going to just be add people. How do you onboard them, right? So they're going to start asking all those kinds of questions to make sure that the founder is thinking about what it actually takes to get there in their areas of weakness where, frankly, their brain just isn't going because they're so focused on the piece they know and how they know they're getting to that vision, and they're missing the rest.
And what do you look for? You get to be in these boardrooms every month and watch this happen. Are there facial expressions, crying, hands over the face? Where do you see the eureka moments happen? Where the founder recognizes, oh, it's me, not them, kind of thing. I'm a believer. If I want other people to change, I have to change first. Maybe that's right or wrong or old school, but I have to be very self-reflective and be willing to change first, and people will lead through my example. But, Tell us kind of stories from the road of what you see in these boardrooms. Yeah.
So there's probably two typical reactions I see that are my yay. The first one is the aha moment, right? They're talking and they start to go, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? And you get to say to them, hey, you just did. That just came from us asking you good questions. and they're like, they just had this aha, right? Like that's one. The other is the discomfort look of like, oh my gosh, you just uncovered like my worst nightmare. And yet I know I absolutely have to tackle it, right? Like, so it's this like amazing look or this like, oh, why did you guys tell me that? I know better. I really don't want to do that. And yet I know I need to. So it's fun when you see the two, but you know that both are a place of huge growth for the individual.
Now, is your Vistage group regionalized, or do you take members from everywhere? Or tell us a little bit about Vistage itself, or your particular Vistage. For any of those that are listening, as mentioned, like I did EO. There's other things like YPO or Chief or Collective 54. Maybe for those listening who've heard this word Vistage a few times, maybe describe that a little bit.
Yeah, Vistage is similar to all those organizations. One of the main differences of Vistage is it's really focused on the peer group aspect. Some of the others are focused more on social networking or other pieces, and then have peer groups maybe as an aside. The peer groups are facilitated by a chair like myself. So you have somebody professional curating the groups, making sure that the people are the right fit for the group and can truly help one another, and that you have different perspectives in the room. So you have the different skill sets, right? Like you have the financially grounded CEO, and you have the one that's PE backed, the one that's family business, and all the different perspectives in the room to get the best solutions, not just frankly groupthink. And so that's one of the big differences. And we meet for a full day once a month and dive into people's issues, their challenges. We dive into their businesses through presentations. We'll bring speakers and workshops to them on topics they should be thinking about as an owner or founder or CEO. Big picture things that frankly you get so caught in your business, you're not thinking about the changes happening in the world, right? Like, and how do you implement some of those bigger picture ideas? It could be culture, or it could be how AI is coming, or even topics and things, that are shifting and changing overnight in our world around uncertainty and the economy and tariffs, right? That these owners need to be talking about because they're very real. And that's how we spend our time together. I also do one-on-one coaching with my members to make sure that they are thinking of the deepest issues and bringing the right things to the group. And so we spend a lot of our time. We do have some of the social aspects that the other organizations have, but those are secondary. It's really focused on these miniature advisory boards that are professionally facilitated by coaches and chairs like myself. And to answer your regional question, I am Atlanta based. So all of my clients exist within a 4 or 5 hour drive of the Atlanta metro. Some are in Alabama, South Georgia, and other places, but about 4 or 5 hour drive because we're in person.
Well, this is fantastic. I am a huge believer, for anybody listening. I've never been the mentor, but I've been mentored. I don't know if there's however the word is, mentoree. Yeah. Since 2018, I've had a mentor, and I've been part of these type of groups since about 2016 or 17. It's invaluable. Like the shared wisdom, and a lot of it is the way that I describe it is you'll see a problem in front of your face. There's this concept called 1-3-1. So here's the one problem. Here are the 3 potential solutions. And I've evaluated them. And then here's my recommendation. It's kind of like what you teach your own employees to do, to show up to every meeting and having their 1-3-1. What I find in these type of peer groups is like there's 5 or 6 other options you had never considered because you'd never experienced them or could see. You were trying to read the label from within the bottle and you just had no idea.
Yeah, I'll even challenge that slightly, because it's not that there's 5 or 6 more options. There's also 5 or 6 more questions or versions of the issue. We're often so caught in the day-to-day that we think the issue is one thing, and through great questions and challenge from the group, often you find it's 2 or 3 layers deeper and a very different issue than you originally walked in the door with.
Yeah. Like root cause versus, it's like the symptoms of the cold versus the root cause of the cold.
Yeah. And so you can be talking about and solving for the wrong thing if you're not spending time digging into what's the real problem. And I will also challenge you, because this is the coach in me, that you have been a mentor for a very long time if you've been a part of these groups, because it is all about supporting one another. And if you've been in them, you've been helping a ton of people.
That's a good point. Well, this has been fantastic. How do people get a hold of you?
So the easiest, my LinkedIn dash Aviva Leebow. You can find me in my show Beyond the Comfort Zone there and learn a lot more about Vistage Groups, or my email is aviva@empowerleadership.net.
This is fantastic. Thank you for being on Outsource to Profits.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me as your guest.
Thank you.